guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. Excuse me, my phone just decided to go off while as soon as I come on air. Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is what is it? Monday, October the 13th. So it's all happening here at the moment. My phone's just sort of going off and things popping up. So apologies about that. Welcome to the show. This is as I said, Talking Boxing, not Walking Boxing. And great to have you all along. I see there's a few in the chat already. And there is a lot to talk about, especially yesterday. What did you think of Boots Ennis? What did you think of, well, Dave Allen and Mark Madov, whatever his name was? Excuse me. What do you think about the upcoming cards, all the rest of it? There's plenty going on. If you're new to the show, just the way it works is it says there, it's Talking Boxing. Put your comment in the chat and you guys determine which direction we go. Sorry, I've just got myself a little bit all over the place here by just coming on air and my phone going off and doing all sorts of wonderful things. Excuse me. Let's get on with the show. All right, now before I start tonight, I want to give a mention to, I haven't done it in the last couple of weeks. I forgot all about it. Excuse me. I think I should be right now. All right. The arrival of Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. He will be in Melbourne on October the 28th, I think it is, which is not this, what's today? The 14th. So 2 weeks. I think it's the 29th, I think. Geez, you'd think I'd be organised, wouldn't you? Hang on. Give me a look here. Just give me 2 seconds. Being promoted by Grant Tazzy Brown, who's doing great things with bringing people out. Now, where is it? Come on, Tazzy, where are you, mate? Give us a date here. I'm sure he's got something in his stories. Geez, I think it's either the 28th or 29th. There it is. There it is. Gold Coast, October 26th. All right, so it must be the 28th. Yes, it is. Melbourne, the 28th. Sydney, the 31st. All right. So if you're in any of those places, Melbourne, Sydney, or the Gold Coast, get on there and buy your tickets. So $500 a ticket. You get a photo with the Manos Di Piedra, Roberto Duran, and you get a great night out. You hear all about his life and his career and all those sorts of things. So it'd be a fantastic night. So tickets at I think they're at Try Booking. So check that out, guys, and we'll get on with the show. All right, who's first? Of course we know who's first. It is Big J. How are you, Big J? What do you got there, mate? Seems like the Tasman card is full of one-sided mismatches similar to the August No Limit card. Seems Jai, Justice, Jake, and who's Jake? Jake Wiley, yep. And Jason Maloney are all in very easy-to-win fights. Geez, Big J, you're a hard man to please there, mate. I get it. I get what you're saying. Look, I think what we've got to get past, and this is our old mate, excuse the pun there, old mate Turkey LL Sheik's fault, because all cards now are expected to be, just great fights top to bottom. And I understand what you're saying there, Big J, but on the other hand, a lot of these fights are different for different reasons. I would argue that, especially the Jake Wiley-Paul Fleming fight, that is not a one-sided easy fight for Jake Wiley. I think he should win. I think Paul Fleming's been out of the ring for a while. He's going up to 140. I get that. But he's a good fighter. He'll give Jake Wiley some issues. Don't worry about that. Who else to say there? Justice Honey? Look, I know he's beaten Kiki Latelli in the past, but Latelli gave a good account of himself. And look, we've got to take this for what it is. It is a comeback fight for Justice Honey. He was knocked out pretty badly in his last fight. He's got to get a comeback fight. We can't expect him to go straight into a big fight straight away. So I've got no issues with Kiki Latelli. Who else did you say there? Well, Jai, look, I've seen a little bit of Shinkara, and you're right. It's a fight that Jai Opetaia should win, but is it easy? I don't think so. I think Shinkara will give a good account of himself for a few rounds. So I don't think it's easy. And Jason Maloney, okay, again, it's a comeback fight. His last fight was, let's have a look at Jason Maloney. I don't think he's fought for about a year, has he? February of this year. All right. So he's been out. By the time he fights, it's going to be 11 and a half months. So you've got to give him a little bit of leeway. I understand we want to see him, straight into a big fight. And I'm sure he would take a big fight if it was there. But this guy's just been purely brought in to give him a comeback fight, give him some rounds. I've got no dramas with it, Big J. It's not like, Jason is a current world champion or highly rated and is taking an easy fight. You've got to look at it for what it is. I mean, the rest of the card, we'll have a quick look at it. Ben Mahoney or Marnie, 15-0 against Winston Hill, 7-0 for the IBF Pan Pacific Super Welterweight title. I don't really know much about Winston Hill. I'm assuming Ben Mahoney will probably win a decision in that one. And Max McIntyre, Jed Morris, you would expect Max McIntyre to win that. I think Taylor Jensen, Jessica Adams will be a 50-50 fight. Austin Akuso, 9-0. Manuel Dunzo, 36-10. He got stopped in his last fight by Tonga. So you would expect Austin Akuso to win that fight pretty easy. But I think you got to look at it for what it is, though, BJ, is look at the way they've structured these guys on the card. I don't know. In my opinion, at least, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as what the No Limit card was. And they wanted, $60, $70 for that card. This one's probably going to cost $30 or $40. I haven't got an issue with it. I understand we want all the fights to be massive and all the rest of it. But I haven't got an issue with it, Big J. I don't think they're all mismatches at all. I think there might be one or two on there. There always is. But I think it's not too bad. Look, you'd expect the A side to win all the fights, but I certainly don't think they'll be mismatches or easy. And I certainly don't compare it to the No Limit card, which was probably one of the worst pay-per-view cards I've ever seen, not just in Australia, but ever. And they deserved to get every little bit of flack they got for that card because it was pathetic. And to have their hand out for $70 with those two fights was not something that's going to hold them in good stead if they want to keep the hold or the strong hold of Australian boxing they've got at the moment as far as promotion, the broadcasting, all that sort of stuff goes. So just my opinion. All right. So you've broken it down yourself. Jai's facing his mandatory, so he gets a pass. Hunty, Latelli, Maloney, Gomez, Wiley, Fleming. Great to see Paul back, by the way. Kuso, Danzo, and McIntyre, Morris are all a little one-sided for me. Again, mate, look, you're probably right to a certain extent. Hunty should beat Latelli easily maybe on points. Jason will beat Gomez comprehensively. He might even stop him. I think Wiley and Fleming, I think you're underestimating Paul Fleming a little bit, Big J. I reckon he'll give a good account of himself. He's a very, very good fighter. Was world rated for a long time, and don't really know much about Danzo and Morris to really have a comment. But when you look at it, the Akuso and McIntyre fights probably won't even be on the main card on the televised version of the card. So are we really that stressed about it? I'm not. The main televised card will be Jai, Justice, Jason. Well, it's only an 8. Oh, actually, Jason's is only an 8-rounder, so will that actually make the pay-per-view? You've got a 12-rounder, 1, 2, 3, and 4 10-rounders. Why would they put Jack Gregory and Hayden Emerson as a 10-rounder? Doesn't make much sense to me. But anyway, we'll see, mate. But I get where you're coming from. All right. Also, I dropped another video on my channel, Aussie Boxing Talk. I've compared the pair. Okay, good concept. Who had the better career, Kambosos Jr. or Daniel Gill? Check it out and your thoughts. Wednesday's Rose versus Fennick. It's a tough one, BJ. It's a really good concept actually you've got there. Kambosos Jr. or Daniel Gill? I'm going to go for Daniel Gill for the longevity of it. Now, Teofimo Lopez, that one win over him probably gives him a lot of points for George, but after that, didn't really have a signature win after that fight. And before that, I don't think his resume really matched up with Daniel Gill's either. Daniel Gill went to Germany twice and won world titles in Germany. A lot of really good fights. I mean, it's 55-45 if you ask me, but I'm going for Daniel Gill in a close one. And mate, I don't think it's a competition with Rose and Fennick. If I was you, I would have probably done Rose versus Famishon. That's probably a better comparison. I mean, Jeff Fennick is a 3 and should have been a 4-time world champion with multiple title defenses. And we all love Lionel Rose, but the facts of the matter are, won the belt, wasn't champion for very long, and then fell off the perch. So I don't know as far as his career goes, I'm talking about, fell off the perch. I'm not sure you can compare those two there, Big J. We love Lionel Rose, super talented, arguably our most talented fighter we've ever produced. But as far as success goes and career goes, for me, it's just a no contest. Jeff Fennick all day, every day. But it's your show, it's your channel. You can do whatever you want, mate. That's just my opinion. You are, so there it is. Yes, I was going to say, where are your manners? Great show. Enjoyed every week. Glad you're doing so well. Thanks very much, Big J. Appreciate it, mate. Hope your channel grows as well. If you haven't followed Big J, by the way, go to his Aussie Boxing Talk page and some really good content on there as well. All right. Asbot. Hi, lads. Is Tim officially on board with Abel Sanchez, or are they in trial mode? Great choice. If so, Boots looked awesome against average opponent, granted, but still a weapon at 154. I don't think he's officially on board with Abel Sanchez, Asbot. I think he is definitely in trial mode. And actually, I was on D-Style's show this morning, and if you haven't seen that, make sure you follow D-Style Boxing. Really good content with Eric from D-Style Boxing. And I said the only, I think he posed the question, what happens if the 5 trainers he's over there looking at, he doesn't actually gel with any of them? What does he do then? I think they'll, knowing Mike Altamora and how thorough he is, they'll find somebody. They'll probably just cast the net a little bit wider and go for another 2 or 3 until they get the right match. It's a big decision. This is career defining for Tim, so I get that they want to make the right call. But I did see he was over there doing a little bit of work with Abel Sanchez. He would be my pick, by the way. Someone did raise this morning that maybe he's not really defensive orientated, but I mean, I don't know. You're going to get the perfect trainer, maybe. I don't know, but geez, it's drawing a long bow, isn't it, to cast any doubts that Abel Sanchez could get the best out of Tim. So we'll see what happens. As far as Boots goes, yeah, look, we can't really make too much of it, Asbot. I don't think at all. I mean, the only things I took out of it was the fact he looked really good at the weight as far as his body and everything goes. And also, I really love the fact that when he got him hurt, he got him out of there really quick. So he didn't muck around. So they're probably the 2 things. Apart from that, I don't really buy into all the Eddie Hearn in there almost having a heart attack about how excited he was. I know he's his great hope, I suppose. He's Boots for Eddie Hearn. But until he has a legacy win, I mean, how do you rate him? How do you define him? We can't. Until he fights another elite fighter, the jury's out for me. I still think he can be nailed. And whether someone like a Virgil Ortiz can nail him with a left hook to the head or body, or someone like a Fundora who has got those long reach and will make anyone look a bit awkward. If Boots can't get nice and close and throw those good shots, is he going to fall the same way as Tim Tszyu and numerous others have? Barkram Murtazaliev, can he withstand the heat that Murtazaliev is going to bring? There's still a lot of questions. So for me, 100% the jury's out. I'm a fan, don't get me wrong, of Boots Ennis, but it's just way too early. We just cannot judge this guy until we see him in a legacy fight. So that's my call on it. Ryan. Sorry, mate, not exactly all over the boxing news. Has Thurman got a replacement for Fundora, or is he going to wait for something more lucrative? Great show, by the way. Thanks, Ryan. Look, no, he hasn't got a replacement for Fundora, which really surprised me. The fight card has been postponed, not cancelled. Okay, so they're talking about it maybe being, I think they said late November, maybe December, even January, I think they're talking about. There were rumours that the ticket sales were a little bit light, so some conspiracy theories start to come in. But that's where we stand at the moment. And Keith Thurman, with the 2 black eyes, gets on there and rips shreds off Fundora. Don't think he's in a position to really do that, do you? I mean, he's pulled out last year against Tim Tszyu, but I think, look, it's never guaranteed they're going to get the fight on again, Ryan. Who knows? All of a sudden, they might just scrap the whole event and they move on to other fights. But the answer is no, he hasn't got a replacement. I think it would have been very easy to get him someone, Ryan. There's 2 other, actually there's a 160-pound fight and a 154-pound fight on the card. So I don't know why they couldn't have elevated one of them up and worked out a deal with Keith so he had a fight. Elevate Oshaki Foster and Stephen Fulton to main event. Problem solved. But anyway, that's their show and they can do with it what they want. But really strange that 2 weeks out they couldn't find a replacement. So we'll see what happens there. Shadow Boxer. I personally don't like the Zoo Abel Sanchez team up. Okay, I know Triple G is Tim's favourite fighter, but he doesn't have the power nor the chin to be chasing that kind of trainer. Yeah, well, look, it's a good point, Shadow Boxer, because Triple G was just the walk down type of fighter. And that's probably where the doubts on whether Abel Sanchez can teach defense. But I mean, you look at Triple G, he didn't really get nailed a lot. Did he or did he? Am I being wrong? Or am I wrong? I don't know. I mean, maybe he was that far over his opponents and he never really got hit. But yeah, I don't know. I will agree that Tim is not Triple G. So Triple G, the strength, well, I won't say he had power, but he just had that volume of punches and the real, the strength of being a really fully fledged 160 pounder that really walked these guys down, and underrated boxing skills as well, I reckon, Triple G. And I don't think Tim is at the stage of his career where he needs to fight like that. If anything, Tim needs to actually take a step back, in my opinion, and be a little bit more calculated and calm and patient in how he breaks down his fighters, his opponents, because he has been caught by trying to be too aggressive, and he's gotten himself nailed. So we'll see, Shadow Boxer. Maybe Abel Sanchez is maybe a better defensive coach than what we give him credit for. Maybe he just wound Triple G up and just sent him out there and let him do his thing. You just don't know. Where with Tim, he's going to have to do some work. So we'll see. We'll see. As I said before, I've got no doubt that Mike Altamura, as his manager, will make the right call in conjunction with Tim, of course. Where are we? Cal Jane. How are you, Cal? Evening, mate. Hope you're well. Just want to know if you have an opinion on backyard boxing. Oh, I have an opinion, Cal. Look, it's not for me. I think I've commented on this before on here. Look, the concept is great. Now, they're treating it like a fight club type of concept where it might be troubled people or troubled people off the street, whatever it might be, just people with aggression problems and just people that just love the fight. It gives them an outlet. The only thing I don't like about it, Cal, is that it's not really sanctioned and it's not legal. It's just, that's a fact. So they do it in the backyard. I'm not sure whether they have doctors there. I'm not sure whether they have medicals. I don't know. So that's the big thing for me, mate. I just think that I'm all for, no matter how you want to do it, whether you want to kick, wrestle, punch, whatever it might be, that's great. And whether it's in a ring or in the backyard, that's great. If it, gets you the adrenaline rush that you want, then happy days. But when it's not really governed properly, that's the problem I have. I mean, really, when you think about it, this new brawling thing they've got going on, I mean, am I wrong? But this is pretty much what backyard boxing is, but in a proper format. I might be wrong. I haven't seen really either one of them, to be honest, apart from a few clips on YouTube. So I would think that the backyard boxing is okay as long as they do something about being sanctioned. I still can't believe they haven't been shut down. Surely someone's going to spill the beans about where the fights are and they're going to get raided at some stage. But I think the way the brawling guy is doing it is spot on. He's doing it properly in a proper ring, all that sort of stuff, and medicals and doctors and all that there, and someone from the combat board. That's the way I would like it to go. And who's to say they can't still do it outside, but just have proper officials there and have it, pay your permit fees and all that sort of stuff, but have your event outside. I don't see why they can't do that. So, but anyway, I mean, at the moment we've got this slap thing, we've got the brawling, we've got the backyard boxing, we've got the bare knuckle, and proper boxing and UFC or MMA. So, and what's next? I think they should love the arm wrestling. I reckon that'd be a good concept. Do an arm wrestling competition. I don't know. All right, what else have we got there? Hang on, I'm getting to the end of these comments. We'll go to Frankie G. Where are you, Frankie? Greetings to you too, mate. Thanks for tuning in. OG, thanks, OG. Thanks to have you along, mate. And any questions, put them in the chat. Love to hear from you. Here we go. Big J. Boots is a joke. I think I've got a feeling what your next video is going to be about, Big J. Typical Eddie fighter. Gets in there with an absolute bum. And then Eddie calls him the greatest thing since sliced bread. Look, the only thing I'll defend Boots with Big J is that, look, everyone's entitled to an in-between fight, a warm-up fight, or whatever, tune-up fight, whatever you might want to call it. My criticism will be if the next one is no good. So what I mean by that, if he fights Virgil Ortiz next, well, okay, I think we'd be all looking at this and go, okay, well, it was the right decision. Get a tune-up, even though it's far from a tune-up. It went, 2 minutes or whatever it did. So I'm with you as far as Eddie goes. I think he's just a bit excited at the moment, Big J. I think the fact he's had a rough couple of years, hasn't had much success. His fighters have been knocked over one after the other, and I just think he's taking a win when he can get it. And I think he's really excited about Boots. And look, I love to see it, if I'm being honest. I love to see a promoter get so excited about their fighters. I really do. And good on him. He's a very emotional guy. He's Eddie Hearn. He wears his heart on his sleeve. Good on him for doing it. I agree that it's probably wasn't the greatest to say that that Boots is going to win all the way up to 168 and look out. And Boots Ennis almost looked a little embarrassed by the whole thing, didn't he? But that's just Eddie Hearn, Big Joe. I'm not going to crucify him for that. But as far as Boots being a joke, I don't think so. I think he's a real deal, but he has to have bigger fights. It's as simple as that. Asbop, Boots Ortiz has to be a 50-50 fight, I reckon. Right now, I can't pick it. Yeah, it's a big fight, Asbop, and isn't it amazing that this is the biggest fight at 154, and neither one of them have a belt, interim belts aside, that we don't count. They shouldn't even actually get a belt for being an interim champion. It should just be in name only. On the ratings list, it should be you're the interim champion. Actually give them a belt, I think, is a little bit far-fetched. Or give them a different type of belt. Give them a little baby belt or something like that. I don't know. But 50-50 fight, yes, I agree. I think I'm going to back Boots Ennis though, Asbot. I'm going to back Boots. I just think, I said on my video this morning that I think the African American style always makes it hard for the Mexican style, if that makes sense. Mexican style's that sort of very predictable, sort of walk up, rip, hook, uppercut, all that sort of stuff. And the African American style, that slick on the feet, on the toes, sort of. With a lot of them have the Philly shell in that these days. Very slick fighters, most of the African American fighters are. And the Mexican fighters have always had issues with it. And I think that's why I'd be backing Boots Ennis to win in this fight, as but it won't be easy. We've got a super chat, $10. Thanks very much there, Andy. Congrats to Boots and all the winners over the weekend. Unlikely Bud returns to 154, so do you want to see Boots chase WBA? Hopefully unification at 154. Well, you definitely won't be back at 154, Andy. I would say 160 will be where he'll go back to. It just depends who's there. I mean, you got Janabek, you got Lara, you've got Carlos Adames. Do any of those really get Terence Crawford excited? Especially when he said that he wants $100 million to fight again. I think he'll definitely fight at least probably a couple of times, I think. But can he get the money he's after? I don't think even if he fought Canelo, he's going to get $100 million, by the way. So, yeah, it's a tough one for him. But look, he deserves to get paid. I said this morning, I wouldn't be surprised if he fights Canelo again. It might be a 50-50 split this time. If Canelo really wants a shot back at Canelo. And who knows, there might even be a rematch clause. I'm not sure. Nothing's really been discussed about that. So if it was a Canelo rematch, I would say 50-50. I don't think they're going to generate $200 million again in purses. I can't believe they did it in the first place. But from all accounts, they lost a hell of a lot of money on it. So I think if they did it again, there's no way they could give the fighters that amount of money again. So does that then make the fight fall over? I don't know. And the one thing I don't like, by the way, I mean, I really like fighters getting paid. But what I don't like is when they get overpaid, because that then raises the bar, puts a lot of pressure on the promoters underneath them to overpay their fighters. And when you've got the money of Turkey LL Sheikh, I mean, it's a lot of it's just ashtray money, isn't it? All these millions of dollars. I just don't like the precedence that it sets, that all of a sudden the fighters with Top Rank and the fighters with Golden Boy, the fighters with Matchroom are all thinking, well, that is now the benchmark, and they're all got their hands out. And as a result, a lot of these fighters become stalemates, and we don't get fights done because fighters are digging their heels in, expecting these big paydays. So, and even to the extent now with Terence Crawford saying, thanks for the 50, but now I want 100. I mean, there's no way that fight can happen with Terence Crawford getting paid $100 million as well as Canelo with his hand out. So I think, and I've been very vocal about this as well. There's no way, if it is true, that Canelo deserved $150 million for that fight. He should have even gotten half of that. 75 for him, 25 for Crawford. That would have been even monster money. That 75 and 25, and they would have saved $100 million that they could have put on the card of the century, of the last 2 centuries, basically this century and last century. But they chose to pay Canelo $150 million, and maybe that's another reason why fighters like Canelo are now just starting to tail off and haven't really got the motivation anymore. So anyway, we'll see, mate. What have we got there? I'll get back on track. All right, Adam, how are you, Adam? Any news on Joel Taylor? What are your thoughts on him and his future? Well, he hasn't fought for a long time, Adam. Let me just bring up his record. Has he fought since he lost? Didn't he lose to Ben Horn, I think, at one stage? Joel Taylor. So he's 12-1. Oh, sorry. Oh, he has fought 3 times. That's how well I'm going at the moment. Hasn't fought since September last year, so a year out of the ring. So since he lost to Ben, was that 2.5 years ago? Jeez, now I feel old. So he's beaten Cesar African, Lachlan O'Shea, and Kohi Hatanaka. All right, so that was on, I think they were all, 2 of those were on Will Tomlinson cards. Yeah, I don't know, Adam. I haven't heard anything, mate. I think he... Depends on what you think of him and what you mean by that question. What are your thoughts on him and his future? I think he's a great young kid. I've promoted him a couple of times. He's a solid guy, always comes to fight, always well prepared. His future, look, I don't think it goes outside of the Australian borders, really, Adam. I mean, what is he? Is he welterweight? Is he? Yeah, welterweight. Not that there's a hell of a lot around for him at welterweight anyway, but look, yeah, don't know. I think he's a domestic level fighter, but he's a great kid, a great team behind him as well. He always is an honest performer, but that's probably about it, Adam. That's just probably as much as I've got to say. I just think he's a domestic fighter, and hopefully he comes back and he gets a few wins at domestic level. And maybe fights for an Australian title or something like that. Asbot, how does that make Boots a joke? They took an easy fight, or first fight, at 154, and Eddie's doing what a promoter gets paid to do, promote his fighter. Yep. You're preaching to the choir here, or not preaching to the choir here, Asbot. You got to convince Big J here, mate. I think what you need to do, Big J, you need to have a little format like this so you can get on there and have everyone come at you and put all these questions at you, and you can back up what you're trying to say. But yeah, I don't think it makes him a joke. If the Virgil Ortiz fight is next, in the next sort of 3 or 4 months, well, I think I've got no problem with it whatsoever. So okay, Ado, thinking about it, I'll put Ortiz slightly. Don't hold me to that though. If I missed a... Oh, okay, sorry, Ado. Boots, Ortiz, who wins and how? Okay, yeah. Well, I did say Boots wins just because of the styles. He'll have some rough times though. Ortiz is a guy that can fight, and he's tough and hard and big for the weight as well. I just think the style of Boots Ennis will make it really tough for him. I would almost see it as I would liken it actually to Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda. That's the way I think the fight goes. And I think, like Shakur, I think Boots can go with Virgil Ortiz and get the job done. All right, Tony Clifton. How are you, Tony? Hello to everyone. Seeing Mark Madov shake his head due to neurological reasons makes me think he really should have chosen to do anything but a boxer. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I wondered about that, Tony. So it's actually a condition, is it? Yeah. Look. Obviously, if he's passing medicals, it's not an issue. There's no way, at that level, in professional boxing, there's no way they're going to let someone with neurological problems fight in a professional fight in a 12-round fight. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, it doesn't worry me, Tony. A lot of people have tics and little issues they have, and maybe he's not any different. But as I said, I don't think they would let him fight if there was any issues whatsoever. So I don't think it's really a problem, mate. All right, 94 Zol says, I want to see Ortiz win. Saw a couple of mistakes in his last fight, so I haven't made a decision yet either. Let's just see how he goes against Lubin, mate. I think we've got to see how he looks. Lubin won't be a pushover either. Lubin, I know he's been beaten a couple of times, but he can fight as well. He's got a win over Jesus Ramos Jr. I was that a couple of years ago. Ramos Jr. was really touted as another really up-and-comer, and he beat him. So, look, Ortiz should win, but I think it'll be a toughish fight for him. But as I said, mate, I can just see a repeat of Shakur Stevenson and Williams better. That's the way I think the fight will go. What's this? Boots fought a Portuguese taxi driver. Is that calm down, tits, or let's calm? I think we can all agree he wasn't the greatest test there, drunken boxing. That's not really the point we're trying to make. It's more so about Boots. I don't think I'm definitely not patting him on the back for this great legacy win of beating Lima. I just think it was just let's call it for what it is. It was strictly just a step up, tune up type of fight. And it was really just to prepare him to maybe just get a feel of the 154-pound division. So you got to remember too, if the Ortiz fight is actually locked and loaded and ready to go, and they're just waiting to make it official after Ortiz fights Lubin, maybe this whole fight with Boots, because I think he's fought a couple of times this year, hasn't he? I think. So maybe it was just a case to say, right, let's see how you go making the weight. Let's see how you feel. Let's do a camp. Let's make the 154-pound weight limit. Let's do as I said, a full-on camp and to see how we feel and whether we've got to make a few adjustments when the Ortiz fight comes around. Because you can't just, I know they used to do it yesteryear, but it's a little bit different these days in the way they train and everything. But rather than just going from 147 and jumping straight into an Ortiz fight, maybe they just wanted a little bit of a dress rehearsal first. So I don't know. Only they can answer that question. As Ado thinks Boots is too slick, his movement a big advantage. Yep, I think his speed's going to be a big advantage to Ado with hands and feet. I think that's really going to give Ortiz problems. Glenn, Boots is not a joke. Nobody would fight him at 147, and he has his first fight at 154. He's now calling out Ortiz. What exactly has he done wrong? Nothing, Glenn. He's done nothing wrong at all, except beat who they put in front of him. An evening to you two. G'day to you two, Eminem. Asbot, Ado, you've convinced him. I'm now leaning towards Boots. See what I mean? Yeah. Haters gonna hate, says Glenn. No, you're right. But he's entitled to his opinion, like everyone. All right, Drew. I heard Roy Jones and Andre Ward saying Crawford was the best fighter of this generation. I strongly disagree with Usyk cleaning out the cruiserweight and heavyweight divisions. The stats and resumes don't lie. It's Usyk. Yeah, look, that's a good point, Drew. The only thing I'll raise with that is, are they two different conversations? It's one thing to say who was the best fighter of the generation, and then it was on another point to say who had the best resume. So two different conversations for me. I think Crawford is the best fighter, but Usyk has obviously achieved more. So it depends on what you're saying there, mate. When they said the best fighter of the generation, did they mean by his achievements or simply just being the most talented fighter? So I'm not sure. I would say that, yeah, Crawford is the best fighter of the generation, but Usyk for me is number one as far as what he's achieved. So I'm not sure. I didn't see all the interview, mate. So Glenn says, I think Boots over Ortiz in a hell of a fight. Yep, I'm with you there, mate. Eminem, Boots could be great. 100% Eminem, but underline the word could. We don't know. And this is my point. I'm a fan. I think he's going to be a great, but there's no guarantees. And I remain to be convinced until he's had that big fight and a big win, because he hasn't come close to having a big fight yet. What's that? Tim Lee, Andy's Aussie stepchild would be a match. I'm not sure about that. What's your name? Caboose Media Sydney. I'm not really sure what you're saying there, mate. But anyway, Asbot, yep, hell of a fight. Ado, Allen did a good heavy punching bag impression on Sunday. Didn't even try to move. I guess the levels showed greatly in this fight. Yeah, I mean, but you got to take it for what it is, though, Ado. I mean, I wasn't expecting Dave Allen to have the vintage Mike Tyson moves with the head movement and the quick shuffle with the feet and the power punches. I didn't expect that. I mean, Dave Allen, I can't believe he's actually getting big fights at that level, Ado, in front of all those people. They obviously love him. But for me, I just see him as a domestic level club fighter almost. And he's headlining a massive big stadium show. I'm not sure how many were there, but certainly shouldn't have been in the ring with Mark Medev, Ado, and shouldn't be fighting anyone anywhere near that sort of top 10 level, I don't think. But look, he had a go. He was game. Fought his heart out, but he shouldn't be anywhere near a ring in a fight of that magnitude, Ado. That's my opinion anyway. And I fully respect him. I admire him. Gave his all. He's still trying to throw the big bombs in the last round, but as I said, I just don't think he's at a level to be a main event in front of 10,000 people or whatever it was. Glenn says, I'd lean to Usyk as well, but I'd not argue the choice was Bud. Yeah, it's a tough one. Glenn, as I said, it depends on what the criteria is there. Alan was very disappointing. Did he actually have a plan? Look, I think, Glenn, that Alan is the type of fighter that they just don't have plans, mate. They're plans that are get in there and just hang tough. Just hang on as long as they can and hope they can wear the other fighter down. The problem is he hasn't got massive power, hasn't got any real boxing skills. All he's got is really heart and endurance, and he's a hard guy. As I said, Glenn, his plan, he probably did have a plan, but the plan was to maybe hopefully wear Magmadov down, Makhmadov, or whatever how you pronounce it. I don't think there was any. They didn't have this master grand plan anyway, I don't think, mate. But I think it was just to hang in there, walk him down. Hopefully he punches himself out, just hang in there, and maybe you might get him late. I reckon that was the plan, but it didn't work out too well, was it? Drew, I'm frustrated with Boots' career. His resume needs to get so much better. With 35 fights and no losses, it's time for his promoters and managers to get him the big fights. Well, that's what's next, Drew. I'm with you, and I've said a few times I wasn't in favour of yesterday's fight. I think going from 147, he should have jumped into a big-ish type of fight, not necessarily straight into an Ortiz fight, but a big-ish type of fight, and this certainly wasn't it. 100% his resume needs to get better, and you're right, 35 fights now. He should have had maybe half a dozen big fights, and he's had none. But as far as his promoters and managers to get him the big fights, that's next. Eddie Hearn saying, hey, bring him on. We're ready for Ortiz. We're ready for step up to 168 to fight Crawford if need be. So I think they're ready to pull the trigger now, Drew. But the proof will be in the pudding as far as trying to get the matchups made. Glenn says, biggest problem was being signed to, this is Boots, biggest problem was being signed to PBC. They sidelined him on purpose for years. Hearn would do a better job. Yeah, good point, Glenn. PBC held him back for a long, long time. And I think that's what makes Eddie pretty happy as well. The fact that he got him from PBC, he signed him, he's backed him, he supported him, and Boots has delivered so far. So, and Hearn probably thinks, well, now I'm rubbing my hands together. Now I'm going to make some money out of this guy. So, but I'm with you, Glenn. It was his biggest problem by being signed to PBC. Like a lot of fighters, they just don't keep him active. They match him wrong, and they just sit on the shelf. They promise a lot, and eventually they all leave. So, yeah, J Beebs, what I said before, there's a conspiracy theory out there that there is no Fundora injury. Event was cancelled due to lack of ticket sales. Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And I've got a feeling if that was the case, it would have been maybe a sit down. They would have thought, well, we can't sort of roll Keith Thurman out to say he's injured again. That's not going to look good at all. And maybe the networks might not be happy with that. So we'll put out the golden boy in Fundora who never gets injured, and we'll put him out and say he's injured his hand. I mean, how does he actually injure his hand? 2 weeks out, is he still doing hard sparring? Is he still doing sparring at all? Who knows? But to injure your hand 2 weeks out, not something that usually happens, unless it's sparring, of course. And as I said, I think it's just strange that he'd be doing proper sparring 2 weeks out from the fight. But each fighter is different. But I did hear that, J Beebs, and it wouldn't surprise me at all, mate. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. What's that, Eminem? Sorry if I repeat questions. I'm on sunny Cairns on holidays. Good stuff, mate. Enjoy the holiday. All right, Drew. people are questioning the Triple G entrance into the Hall of Fame. And despite being a skilled fighter, I think the bigger question is on the late Vernon Forrest. Outside of the big Mosley wins, it was a thin resume. Excuse me. I think you're right, Drew. I cannot believe people are questioning Triple G into the Hall of Fame. I really can't. I mean, it's ridiculous. He, for me, was just a walk-up start to the Hall of Fame. Just my opinion. I'm with you as far as Vernon Forrest goes. I know it's not good to talk of people that are no longer with us, but I'm just speaking as a fighter. I'm with you. Apart from the two Mosley fights, didn't really have legacy wins either. I mean, geez, I hate to say, but even Arturo Gatti and Vinny Pazienza to some extent, I'm sure there's others, maybe didn't have those big wins either. But I don't know, Drew, I don't understand the exact criteria and how they came to that for Vernon Forrest, but Triple G to me is just a walk-up start to the Hall of Fame. Adam, Boots seemed better behind the mic this fight. Eddie turned him into a talker just like him. I thought he was actually pretty laid back, Adam. I was really impressed with the way Boots Ennis actually spoke. I thought he was very precise. He was very calculated in what he said. I was actually impressed. And I think Boots and Eddie sort of bounce off each other really, really well. I mean, Eddie's the ultimate extrovert, and I thought Boots just sort of said what he had to say, matter-of-factly, and then he just let Eddie go and have all the fun. So I think they bounce off each other pretty well. Adam, everyone's saying Boots versus Ortiz, but Ortiz still needs to get past Lubin. Good point, Adam, exactly. As I said before, it won't be easy. Yeah, Eminem, Lucas Big Daddy Brown stopped by a 6-0 German on the weekend, but said he has fun. Yeah, I get a little bit worried about Lucas Eminem. Look, I'm a fan of his, always have been. I really admire the fact he looks like he's a working class type of guy. Always is willing to jump in with anyone, anytime, anywhere, all that sort of stuff, and always gives his all. Has been knocked out a few times now in his career. And at what point does the whole, well, I just love to fight things start to wear off a little bit, and maybe someone has got to step in and actually pull him out? He's had the bare knuckle fights. He did have a win in that, didn't he? Not long ago, but maybe that's his thing. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's okay to say he has fun, and I'm sure he does. He's that type of guy who is a fighter's fighter, is Lucas Big Daddy Brown. But sometimes you gotta save people from themselves. Just get the feeling that he'll keep fighting until he gets seriously knocked out, and he has been knocked out a few times. So yeah, I don't like an Eminem. Look, as long as he's not actually getting hurt and he's passing all the tests, all that sort of stuff, then good on him. You're a long time retired, but I'm just concerned that he's been stopped, 4 or 5 times now? That's what I don't like. But he's his own man. He'll do what he wants. And I'm not sure how you can have fun getting knocked out. But anyway, that's Lucas Big Daddy Brown for you. Glenn says Ortiz stops Lubin in 8. Yeah, I agree with that, Glenn. All right, Flash. Hey, mate, do you think there ought to be a service for certain boxers and the teams to be compensated if they have lost money due to another fighter pulling out at the last moment? 100% Flash. I agree with that. I'm thinking, I was only thinking about this the other day, Flash. I'm not necessarily on this one, but it was another fight I was thinking of, especially when someone like Andrei Mikhailovich and Janabek last year or the year before, whatever it was. I think there definitely should be something. And what I'm probably thinking they should do is when the promoter, they do purse bids and all that sort of stuff, and well, if it's not purse bids, they have an agreed amount. There should be a percentage of that is put into, I think it's called escrow in the States. If it's in America, I'm talking about. No one can touch it. It's. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but pretty much when it's there, and they have administrators and all that oversee it. And if in the event of a pullout for whatever reason, that the fighters can get compensated for the camps. And again, I was talking about this with D-Style this morning. The amount of expense these guys go through as far as, with the accommodation and food and sparring partners and masseurs and chiropractors, all that sort of stuff that they have to get. It's big, big money. It really is. And they all only get compensated by the promoter for maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe a week if it's a big fight. as far as a combination and food and all that goes. In the couple of months lead up to it, it's all on the fighter. And if the fight falls over, that's money that's just blown. There's no insurance factor at all. So there needs to be something, Flash. I know it's hard to police all over the world. World title fights, I was just going to say it might be a little bit easier because maybe it's to do with the sanctioning fees, and there's a thing in the sanctioning body's charter or something that says X amount of dollars are going to be put away, but does that just cover the main event and not the undercard? There's got to be something. I'm not sure if it can be done with insurance. I'm not sure. But I would think that there has to be something in place that if it might be proportionate to their purses. So let's say even one of those undercard fights, even if they're only getting maybe, I don't know, 80 grand, it might be 20% or 25%, which would get them 20 grand back just to at least go towards paying for it. Because at the moment, there's nothing. The promoter says, sorry, it's all over, can't help you. So especially in this event, if those conspiracy theories are correct and there was this injury, quote unquote, I mean, there's just no recourse for it. The promoters walk away, the broadcasters walk away, the fighters don't get to walk away. So I'm not sure how it would work, but there's that. There's the after career care as well, the superannuation type of thing they should be setting up as well. So many things they should do better, but they don't. And I don't think it's going to happen while especially the sanctioning bodies basically just all about themselves and just love taking their sanctioning fees and don't do anything with it except line their own pockets. I'm sure there might be some hardship money out there, I'm not sure, but overall they don't do enough. For sanctioning bodies that literally all they do is give the promoters a belt and the fighters a belt and send a delegate over there to sit at ringside and puff their chest out and pretend they're all important and everything else. What else do they do for the sport? This is something they could give back. If they take hundreds of thousands of dollars for a sanctioning fee, why couldn't they put some of that aside for instances like this, or fighters that are in hardship? So they're just leeches, the sanctioning bodies. That's all they do. They make a belt and they charge you for the belt, by the way, and then they charge you for the sanctioning fees, and they expect you to fly, especially for these big fights, fly a delegate over there first class and put him up in the best lodgings and all the rest of it and wine and dine him and everything else. For what? What do? They sit there and just tell everyone how important they are. They take a rules meeting after the weigh-in. That's all they literally do. So I think they need to do more, Flash, and the fingers should be pointed right at the sanctioning bodies to do more in instances like this and protect the card. If there's a world title on the card, maybe there's got to be money put aside that filters down to the entire card that gets distributed based on the purse, percentage of that, to give them something. But anyway, we could talk about it all night. Tony, time for Lucas to hang up the gloves, or these days, no gloves. Comes over as a real nice fella, so I hope someone close talks to him. Yeah, and look, it's easy for us to sit here and say, just retire, just retire. Look, some of these guys, I don't know Lucas. I don't know anything about his background or what he does. I think he's got the gym over in Perth. But just to say, just as simple as retire, it's not that easy. These guys, there's voids they need to fill. There's holes they need to fill, whatever it might be. And Lucas might be one of those guys who, without getting into the ring, maybe has some issues outside the ring of dealing with it, with not being able to get in there. Maybe that's his release, and maybe without it, it might leave him a little bit hollow and make him a bit depressed or whatever it might be. I don't know. I don't know Lucas. I can't speak for him, but he just looks to me like someone who without boxing or bare knuckle, whatever it might be, will just be a little bit lost in the world. So as long as he's healthy and being looked after medically and everything else, I suppose let him go. But yeah, it's a tough one, Tony. You can't really force, or I suppose you can force someone to quit the sport, but yeah, it's not an easy one to answer, Tony. All right, Richard, looking forward to the Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley fight. Wardley has a puncher's chance with his power, but not his smarts compared to Parker. Well, Richard, if it just comes down to boxing smarts, I mean, Joseph Parker's going to win 12 out of 12 rounds. I don't think Fabio Wardley has a chance at all to beat Joseph Parker if he can't land a big punch. I think that's his only hope. And I think Justice Honey showed his limitations. But can he pull out one of those big punches against Joseph Parker? He's very experienced, very cagey, very skilled. So the only way I can see Fabio Wardley winning this is if he nails Joseph Parker like he did Justice Honey. But my money would be on Joseph Parker to win a pretty clear-cut decision, I would think, over Fabio Wardley. And good on both these guys for taking the fight, by the way. Joseph Parker, he's ranked number 1 in a couple of organisations. A lot for him to lose. And Fabio Wardley as well, he's taking a big step in his career. I'm not so sure after the great escape against Justice Honey that he should be taking on Joseph Parker. I would have thought they would have maybe got in another fight before looking at this. But credit to them, they've jumped from Justice Honey straight to Joseph Parker. So credit to them as well. Drew says, I'm really bummed about the career of Murtazaliev. I would love to see him fight again, and some responsibility falls on him and his team. You can't keep claiming to be avoided to fight someone, especially when you got a world title belt, Drew. I know some fighters use the excuse that, I don't want the rehydration clause, but hey, there's IBF champions in every single division, and they still get fights. So I don't think we can use that as an excuse. I think it's his team, Drew. I think they've really held him back. He needs to get away from the Duvers. They've been great during the time in boxing. They go back probably 40 or 50 years, the Duvers. But in this day and age, we're almost an analog company in a digital world. So I just don't know why Murtazaliev is still with them. Obviously, he's still signed. But I would think if he wants to do anything with his career, he should be getting out of the Duvers as soon as his contract is up and trying his best to get with a big promoter, whether it's Matchroom or Golden Boy or whoever. Get with somebody, because if he doesn't, what's the incentive for anyone to fight him? I know they've got the belt. Oh, he's got the belt, but there's plenty of other belts out there they can go for, the elite fighters. He's got nothing to offer. So I just think he's in no man's land at the moment, and I don't think he's actually got a fight scheduled, has he? Is the Josh Cully fight actually happened yet? I don't think it has. Or not happened, but I mean, been booked in? I don't think it has. I know they were talking about the end of the year or whatever, but as far as I know, let's have a look. I don't think it's... No, nothing at the moment. So, and what is it? It's been a year since he beat Tim Tszyu and nothing. So, yeah, that's all on Murtazaliev's team, Drew. The only thing you can do about it is leave him when he gets a chance and go to one of those bigger promoters, because they're not going to risk their boys against Murtazaliev if they don't have to. It's as simple as that. Andy, Boots versus Virgil, highly unlikely. At least one full title on the line, in my opinion. Virgil should be pushing his shot at full WBC title, in my opinion. No, you're right, Andy, but I think already Oscar and Eddie have both said they want the fight to happen. They want it to happen in the first quarter of 2026. I've got a feeling it might be the second quarter, so from March to June, I would think, because with Erickson Lubin fighting Virgil, what is it, this month or next month, whatever it might be, it's going to be a quick turnaround if it's in the first sort of 3 months of 2026. So I would think it'd be March to June. It's going to happen, but it's amazing, Andy, that it's going to be for no title. It doesn't make much sense to me, and I would have thought that even who's the WBA champion? Barao, whatever his name is. Yeah, Abbas Barao. I would have thought that maybe instead of fighting Usima Lima, that maybe Boots Ennis was the number 1 challenger for the title. Maybe him and Barao could have fought yesterday for the vacant title. So I'm not sure what's happened there. Instead of fighting Lima, he was the number 1 ranked challenger. Why couldn't they just fought for the vacant WBA belt, and then we would have had Boots versus Virgil for the WBA belt? Don't know. What are you saying there, OG? Shit's all over Sydney. So glad to move here. Oh, okay, you're up in the where'd you say you were there? Palm Cove. Nice. Right, Jay Beeves. Boxing in 2023 and 2024 was nuts. It dominated over MMA, but 2025 has been a letdown. Hopefully finish the year strong. Well, I did a video this morning, Jay Beebs, and this is the 10 fights that looks like they're going to happen in 2026, and they're pretty good fights. The asterisk was maybe Canelo Crawford 2, but I did say that no matter who Crawford fights or Canelo fights, it's going to be a big fight for 2026. But the other fights I had, which all look like they're going to happen, apart from this one, of course, Billum Smith. That was a note above it. Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz is the one that's going to happen. Inoue Nakatani is going to happen. Fury Joshua is the asterisk, but both sides talking like it may happen, so that's why I've included it. Usyk Parker is going to happen if Parker gets past Wardley. Bivol Benavides looks like it's going to happen. Both guys or camps are talking like they're going to fight each other. Janabek Lara looks like it might happen. Might even be this year, although I doubt it. Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez looks like it's going to happen. Jai Pataya and Gilberto Ramirez. Look, they're doing all. The Ramirez side is doing everything not to make it happen, but I've still got a feeling it's going to happen in 2026. And then we've got Pacquiao Ramiro in January. So there's 10 fights that are going to happen, or potentially, well, I think maybe 8 of those 10 are pretty much going to happen. The other 2 are up in the air. But I think if those 10 fights happen in 2026, it's already 10 times better than what 2025 was. We had one of those years, J. Beebs, I'm with you. But it happens. All right, Eminem, Jake Wiley, and Paul Fleming is a cracker. Cracker matchup, providing Paul hasn't aged heavily. I don't see his exhibition with Billy Dibb to see how I didn't see how he looked. I did see a little bit of that Eminem. I'm not sure whether it was on social media or it's on YouTube, whatever, but I did see some of that, and he looked okay. Fighting in a proper fight against a young, hungry guy is a little bit different to an exhibition with Billy Dibb, but I think he'll be okay. Naturally skilled. The 140-pound thing's a little bit of a worry for me. What is he, a 130-pounder? But look, I'm sure he'll be fine. I think Jake Wiley will win the fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if Paul gives him some issues. All right, Tony, could you help me identify an American boxer? He fought this year on DAZN, and he wore work boots like Blundstones and denim shorts like work shorts. Thank you. That was Stephen Fulton, I think, Tony. Yep, and great outfit. Looked like he'd come straight from the timber yard or something, didn't he? All right, Big J. Another couple of ones for you. Barry Michael or Jeff Harding, and Jeff Horn or Danny Green. Very good matchups there, Big J. Who had the better career? Barry Michael or Jeff Harding? Jeez, Big J, you've got me on that one. Barry Michael or Jeff Harding? I'm going to go for Jeff Harding. Yeah, they both won world titles. Barry Michael with the win over Leicester, had a couple of soft defenses and then lost to Rocky Lockridge. But before that was solid, but without really being, having those big world level fights. Jeff Harding, that win over Dennis Andrews, I suppose, puts him above anyway. I mean, that was just an unbelievable performance. Lost the second one against Andrews, won the third. Also had fights against Mike McCullum. Virgil Hill did he fight Virgil Hill? He did, didn't he? A lot of memorable fights. So I would say definitely Jeff Harding there. Big J. And Jeff Horn or Danny Green? Geez, the fact that he beat Pacquiao has got to make it Jeff Horn, doesn't it? But then again, didn't do a lot after that. No, look, a better career, Danny Green or Jeff Horn? I'm going to go with Danny Green, actually, Big J. Even though Jeff had the win over Manny Pacquiao, that was pretty much it. Had the soft first defense, then lost to Terence Crawford, and then really didn't do anything after that, apart from the win over Michael Zarafa. Very, very lucky to get out of that 9th round. And Danny Green, even though I don't think he had we didn't have a win anywhere near Manny Pacquiao, even though Roy Jones Jr. was a big name. I think the big fights at Danny Green, he was in a lot of big fights, Danny. So, and a lot of world title fights. So I would definitely say Danny Green. So Jeff Harding over Barry Michael, and Danny Green over Jeff Horn for me. Excuse me there. All right. Richard, where are we? All right, Richard. I reckon Lucas Brown should stick to bare knuckle or just quit or maybe restart his singing career on Australian Idol again. Is that right? Was he on Australian Idol? No, surely not. Was he on Australian Idol? Just fill me in there, Richard. Look, bare knuckle might be okay because maybe it's not the same. I was going to say it's not the same level of fighter that maybe he's fighting in boxing. But then again, when you got no gloves on and you get hit, geez, I don't know. He did win that fight in bare knuckle, didn't he? But I don't know. Hey, he's his own man. He can make his own decisions. Get through these comments here. All right, Bob, how do you see Parker Wardley going? I sort of answered this before, Bob, but I think Joseph Parker, I think he's got too many smarts, too many. Well, his boxing IQ is a lot better than Wardley. I just see Wardley's being extremely limited, Bob. And I think Justice Honey badly exposed him as far as his limitations go. And he just had that Hail Mary. He landed it. I don't think he could believe his luck when the punch landed. I don't think it was set up. I just think he just bit down on the mouth guard and threw a big right hand and it landed. That's what I think. I think Parker is a hell of a fighter. A lot of experience, obviously a former world champion. And I just think it's a far too big a step for Fabio Wardley, Bob. And I think Joseph Parker wins comfortably. The only possibility, as I said before, is Wardley lands a big punch. I just think Parker is way too smart and cagey and experienced for that to happen. And I think he wins a pretty clear-cut decision over Fabio Wardley. Tony, seeing Usyk dropping fighters with huge head kicks and massive takedowns in the octagon is outstanding. Is he in the octagon now? Hang on. What an athlete. He's in the new movie about MMA, The Smashing Machine. His trainer is in it too. Mate, I haven't seen the movie, but nothing would surprise me with Alexander Usyk. He looks like one of those fighters that he could be in the MMA, he could be in bare knuckle, he could be in this new brawling thing. It doesn't matter. I think he'd always be successful. He's a fighter's fighter, is Alexander Usyk. And that doesn't surprise me, Tony. And that's I'll tell you what does surprise me is the fact that someone like Jake Paul thinks they could back themselves in fighting Usyk in the cage. I mean, at least in the boxing ring, he's only got his hands to hit you with. He's in the octagon. If he knows how to kick or head kick and do takedowns and stuff, that could be bad news for someone like Jake Paul. To tie him up in knots and break him in half. Nectar of the Gods. Norman Jr. would beat Puss in Boots at 147, in my opinion. Good call, Nectar. Okay, not a fan of Boots. We'll never know, Nectar, because Boots won't be back at 147. So it's all hearsay, I suppose, isn't it? Glenn says, Norman beats Boots. He turned down a big offer to fight Boots. $1 million or so. Are you drunk? Let's keep it clean here, guys. Yeah, that would have been a really good fight, Glenn. I'm as unconvinced with Norman as I am unconvinced with Boots. So the fight itself would have been good. I really want to see Norman against Devin Haney, because Devin Haney, I know he gets a lot of flack. A lot of people aren't fans, but the guy can fight. He really can. I think we just keep remembering back to the Garcia fight. Take that aside for a second. He's a good fighter, and at 147, big, solid, healthy 147, I think he beats Norman. And that's probably why I think Boots would have beaten him as well, just style-wise. So, but all will be revealed about Norman when he fights Haney. And I suppose Haney in reverse as well. What has he got left as well? All right. Axie-Man. I see the Badu Jack Noel Michelalian rematch is on December 13th in LA. Yep, I did see that. With that being the case, it's highly unlikely that the winner would fight Jai at the end of January. Yeah, this is the thing. I did see that, Axie-Man, that, and even Jai and Mick Francis have both spoken about as well, about maybe fighting at the end of January on the Riyadh season card. There is another Riyadh season card at the end of February, I think, but I just don't see how. Well, I think Jai could probably back it up. He's just that type of guy. He'd fight every month if he could. And I think he sort of stays in the gym. But Badu Jack, I mean, he's been really inactive over the last few years. There's no way that I think he'd be ready to fight before middle of the year, let alone the end of January. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I've got a feeling. Look, what we've got to also remember is that it's okay for Turki Al-Sheikh just to say, well, you're going to fight him and you're going to fight him on that date. The guy's not a fighter. Never has been, never will be. So I find it funny that he's saying to someone like, all these guys, especially like Jai, well, you're going to fight December 6th, then I'm going to put you at the end of January. I mean, I know Jai and Mick and everyone will sort of go along with it, but surely they're thinking behind closed doors. There's no way Jai's going to be able to back up, in 6 or 7 weeks' time. So, especially going overseas as well. So he's got to probably spend a couple of weeks over there. There's not a lot of turnaround time. I just don't see it. So, yeah, I would think that Jai wouldn't fight again until probably March or April. Just my opinion. But I suppose if Turkey El Sheikh says jump, you're gonna jump, aren't you? All right, Andy, we might see Boots chase the full WBA title versus Abbas Barao next. Abbas, relatively unknown, but has the full bet now. No, he does, Andy. But what I don't like is it's been, as they say, emailed to him. He hasn't won the title in the ring. He's been elevated. I just don't like, again, we spoke about this morning on D-Styles boxing show, fighters shouldn't be elevated. They should have to fight somebody. Now, it's okay to have an interim champion, but make the interim champion fight the number one challenger for the full belt. So we would have had Barral versus Boots Ennis yesterday for the full WBA belt. Virgil Ortiz is the interim, so if something happened to Sebastian Fundora, he vacated or whatever happened, then, Boots Ennis is the number one contender, but depends on who he's fighting and whatever and what belt. But the next one would be, who I don't know, Bakari Samaki, who I've never heard of in my life. But Virgil Ortiz should have to fight him for the full WBC belt. None of this just being elevated. I just don't like it. So, I'm not sure we're going to see Boots chasing Barao, but you never know. Andy, it's probably a cheap, easy title to get hold of, so why not? And I don't think the WBA would be too stressed either, by the way, if Boots Ennis did chase Barao and got the title off him, because they've got pretty much the no name man in the division. We've got Murtazaliev, we've got Fundora, we've got Zayas. Barao, who the hell is he? So I don't think they'd lose any sleep by saying, hey, Boots Ennis, you take the WBA belt over Barao, and then we've got ourselves a champion. Oh, is that right? It was signed Showtime, not PBC. I thought it was PBC, Nectar. Showtime, was it? Okay, then I stand corrected. Eminem, I can feel a no limit announcement coming. Well, it's got to come soon, Eminem. I've heard it from multiple sources that we've got the double header at the end of November of Nikita Tszyu, Michael Zarafa on the Saturday night. I think it's Saturday. And then the Friday night is Liam Paro, Tara Foley. Or it might be the Thursday and Friday, whatever. They're the night after each other anyway. That's what I'm hearing from multiple people. We've got to start the promotion soon. What is it? The 13th of October. What are we? About 7 weeks away. So we better get moving if I want to start pumping it up and getting these pay-per-views getting sold, because I've got a feeling that the Nikita and Zarafa fight won't be cheap. I've got no idea what they're going to get paid, but geez, you'd have to think it'd be a couple of hundred, 250, 300 each. I'm not sure. Just guessing, but you would have to think that they're going to want that amount of money to fight. I think for Nikita especially to take the risk against Michael, he's going to probably want $250,000, I would say. And that's just a guess, but that's what I'd be figuring anyway. Ado, Danny Garcia fighting this weekend. Thoughts? I know he's fighting this weekend. Ado, I don't really know that much about his opponent. I'll quickly bring him up on BoxRec, but I don't think, unless who is he fighting? Danny Garcia. Where is he? There he is. Danny Swift Garcia. All right, so he's fighting Daniel Gonzalez, 22-4-1. It is a retirement fight. Daniel Gonzalez is coming off a couple of wins. Was he 22-4-1? 7 KOs, so not a big puncher. Has lost to Chris Algieri 6 years ago. Don't really recognise his other losses, but there you go. So that is the fight. So look, thoughts on it, Ado. Good on him. I hope it's just a retirement fight for him. I was at his last fight with Erislandy Lara. He looked dreadful. That was at about a year ago. Looked dreadful in that fight. This is going to be at, what weight is it? I'm assuming 154. Is it? Super Wilder 154. Yep. Okay. So that'll probably suit him a little bit better. I'm assuming Daniel Gonzalez is not going to be a super slick southpaw like Erislandy Lara was, so maybe that will go in his favour as well. I'm just happy. Hopefully he gets a win and he can retire. Ado, I don't want to see him continue on. The problem is sometimes these guys get a win and against a lesser light, and all of a sudden think they've still got it, and then they go into other fights and get knocked around. So I'm hoping he just gets a win, Ado, and then he can retire happy. All right, Nectar of the Gods. Boots ran to 154 rather than face Norman at 147. It was pretty obvious. I don't necessarily agree with that, Nectar. I know it probably maybe looks like that, but I just think he'd run his race at 147. Got to remember, I mean, Norman's a good fighter, but certainly not a big name in the sport. So I don't blame Boots for probably looking at it two ways. One is that to fight at 154 where he's comfortable, and then the other one is that there's just a lot bigger names at 154. So, yeah, I don't really subscribe to that, but I understand what you're saying. But I don't think Norman Jr. Just a big enough name that was worth hanging around at 147 for. I mean, if Terence Crawford had still been at 147, you could probably imagine him staying at 147 and having a crack at Crawford. But Norman's just not a big enough identity in the sport. That's all. Norman was offered $1 million to fight him and turned it down. Are you related to Batman? Okay. I feel another heated discussion coming on here, but we'll see how we go. Yeah, J Beebs, did you see Matchroom's Ben Whittaker signing promo videos? Just pure cinema. I only saw the Show Me the Money one, J Beebs. That was so well done. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure it's on social media or on YouTube or something, but they recreated the Show Me the Money scene in Jerry Maguire. Ben Whittaker, of course, was... What was his name, J Beebs? The... Rod Tidwell was his name, and Eddie Hearn was Jerry Maguire, so Tom Cruise. But they did it so well, and I thought both of them did it really well. Ben Whittaker was great as Rod Tidwell, and Eddie was great as Jerry Maguire. Thought it was awesome. All right, Drew, you mentioned Cooper O'Connell a lot without putting too much pressure on him, on you or him. Where do you see him at this age, this young age, compared to Tim Tszyu and Nikita at the same point and age before turning pro? It's a hard one, Drew, because Tim, when did he turn pro? 2016, I think it was. So I suppose it's 9 years. He was 21, yeah, 21. Nikita would have been, what, about 23 or something, I reckon. It is a little bit of pressure there, Drew. It's hard to say, mate. I mean, I think Cooper is super talented. I've seen him firsthand up close and everything. He's super talented. I'm not going to compare him to Tim and Nikita. They're just different type of fighters, different sort of amateur backgrounds, all the rest of it. I would say he's probably at the same, if I've got to be pushed forward, I reckon he's probably at the same stage, Drew. Well, yeah, no, I'll say, I think he's at the same stage as Tim and Nikita. But remember, he's 2 or 3 years younger than what they were, so it's a little bit difficult. I think if you gave Cooper maybe 2 more years or 3 more years and had another 30 or 40 amateur fights or 10 pro fights, whatever it might be a little bit easier. But as far as talent goes, I definitely would say he compares to those guys, Drew. He's a talented kid, and I can't say too much, but there's a little bit happening in the background with Cooper. And, yeah, he's over in Vegas at the moment, having a crack at it. I don't think he was overly happy that the Thurman and Fundora fight got cancelled because he would have been at the fights watching. But yeah, no, he'll be okay, Drew. I've got a lot of faith in how he'll go. He's got the right attitude, really super skilled. Different type of fighter to Tim and Nikita, but being 3 or 4 years younger, whatever it is, it's a little bit hard. But I would 100% say he matches them as far as natural ability goes for sure. Eminem, what happened to Rowan Murdoch? Where'd he go? Good question. Well, has he fought since he lost to Mbili? I don't think he has. Let's have a look. I'm not sure. Hang on. What have I done there? There it is. All right, 28-3. Oh, no, he has fought. Well, I actually fought Emmanuel Danzo. There you go. Back a year and a half ago almost. So, yeah, geez, I didn't realise it's been that long since he fought Mbili, nearly 2 years. So, yeah, Danzo is the one fighting this on the... Who's he fighting? Hang on, what have I done there? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, he's the one that got knocked out. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, don't know, Eminem, a year and a half, or over a year out, so, is it a year and a half? Hang on. When did I say? I think it was May last year. Yeah, so nearly a year and a half. Don't know, Eminem. All right, Glenn. Norman turned down the fight. That is fact. Okay, I'll let you guys go. Shadow boxer, whatever happened to Brad Pitt, the boxer? Don't know. Well, I think he just retired. Shadow boxer won the Commonwealth Games gold medal in 2006. Had a few fights, did okay, and I think that was just it. I'll see if he's on BoxRec. I'll have a look. Brad Hollywood Pitt. Got to have a nickname like that, doesn't he? 19-1. The only loss was to David Aloha back in 2014. Hasn't fought since 2016, so 9.5 years. Had a win over Jorge Rodriguez Oliveira. So, yeah, I just think he'd had enough, shadow boxer, and that was it. Eminem, when you speak to Mike Altamura next, can you please ask him what's next for Matteo Tapia? Good question, Eminem. We probably should have asked him that 2 weeks ago. I didn't even think of asking him about any of his other fighters. It was all just about Tim being so fresh. But yeah, I will, mate. I don't know what's happening to Matteo Tapia. When did he fight? Was it just a few months ago, I think? Hang on, let's have a look. Matteo Tapia. Cesar Matteo Tapia hasn't fought since, it's only been March, so it's been 6 months, 7 months against Vorobev, and he won. Yeah, okay. What card was that on? Thurman and Jarvis. Okay, yep, no drama. All right. Yeah, all right, mate, I will do that. I haven't heard a peep about Matteo Tapia, so we'll keep on the lookout for that. Glenn and... who else is going in? Glenn and Nectar of the Gods. I'll let you guys go at it there. Ado, Haney's last performance has me leaning Norman. Yeah, look, it wasn't great, Ado, but again, different types of styles. I'm with you as far as like Haney's last performance wasn't great. It wasn't great at all, but sometimes you need a Brian Norman type of fighter to bring out the best. So, look, I suppose I'm going a little bit of, his history, Devin Haney. And who knows, Norman might go out there and put the pressure on him and really make life hard for him and hit him with some big shots. I don't know, but I've got faith in Devin Haney that he can get the job done, Ado. We'll see. All right, Andy. Boot Slaving 147 has put 2 belts up for grabs. I always prefer and love to see unifications because it gives us an indication of who is the best in each division. So who is going to fight for those belts? Well, no one. They've all been... That's right. Of course, yeah. Lewis Crocker got the IBF and Ramiro got the WBA. Yeah, without actually fighting for it either, did he? He just got elevated, didn't he? Lewis Crocker at least had to win it. Interesting there that Liam Paro is his top contender for that IBF belt, Lewis Crocker. Where is Liam Paro? He's not ranked with the WBA or the WBC or the... and number... Where is he with the IBF? Sorry, 5 with the WBO. I'm not quite sure how the rankings are. October 10th. Okay, so they're all in October. No, WBC rankings is September 18th and WBO September 25th. Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah. I'll let you guys argue about Boots and Norman. Is Parker Wardley worthy of a pay-per-view? I think not. I don't know, Ado. Yeah, it depends on how much. I think it'd be worth like $29.99 or something like that. It's on DAZN, isn't it? So is it available? Is it actually available to buy? And how much is it? And I'll have a quick look. I think I'm logged in here. I don't think I'm actually going to subscribe next year. I've got a yearly subscription to DAZN. I think it was $140 for 12 months, which is not too bad, I suppose. But the content hasn't been overly great, if you ask me. All right, upcoming fights. Where are we? Not much. Oh, yeah, there it is. All right, let's see how much it is. All right. Yes, continue. Yes. No. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yes, I accept your conditions. All right, it's not showing me the cost there, guys. Sorry about that. I've just wasted a few minutes of your lives there. I'm assuming it'd be only what, $30, $40. I'm assuming. Is it still coming up? No. No, it's just giving me an option about memberships. Yeah, look, it depends on how much I wouldn't mind paying $30 for it. I got no problems with that. But, I mean, each to their own, I suppose. Tony, trivia question. What was the massive distraction? The fan man, mate. I haven't even finished the question there, but it was fan man. Stop for near 20 minutes. No 50-50. No phone a friend. No asking the audience. Definitely the fan man there, Tony. Who can forget that? 20 minutes, was it? I thought it might have been a bit longer than that, but amazing. That's what happens when you have an outdoor fights there, Tony. Do you get the feeling that maybe when they got the fan man out of the ring, there might have been a few stray elbows to the ribs of that guy, because he really upset the momentum of that fight. So yeah, I think he deserved everything he got out the back. All right, hang on, Glenn. All right, well, hear your comment here. So he's saying rubbish to Nectar. What was his comments? They simply said wait till after the Sasaki fight. Then Boots decided to run the 154 catch-up. Okay. Glenn says rubbish. He fought Karen after the negotiations with Norman fell through. Norman wanted more money than he'd ever been offered. All right. Well, where's Batman when you need him, Glenn? He can enter the equation here. All right, Ryan. The Zuffa belt will fix the unification problems. Best fight the best, one belt. Yeah, good luck with that, Ryan. Great in theory. The best can't fight the best because the best aren't all under the Zuffa umbrella, unfortunately. Great in theory. The whole thing is unbelievable in theory. It's never going to happen while those other sanctioning bodies are out there with the wrench, or throwing a wrench in the pursuit. Is that the whatever it is? In the works, throwing a wrench in the works, whatever the term is. But they're not going to just lay over and give up millions of dollars in sanctioning fees every year. Glenn, you fought Karen at 147, then Stan at 147. So you're running to 154 statement is just ridiculous. Hater gotta hate. Okay, well, let's change the subject there. All right. Carlo Copetta. How are you, Carlo? G'day, Lyndon. What is the rule on holding excessively? Mark Madov did it for 12 rounds. Doc, 2 points, but could have been disqualified. Sorry for joining late. Mum is sending a note. Cheers, mate. All good, mate. You got to look after your mum. It's all good, Carlo. We forgive you. Well, the rules are, Carlo, if you're holding excessively, you get a point taken off, and then you'll get another point taken off, and then the third time you're disqualified. So, or it might be 2 points taken off. I don't know. It's up to the referees, I gather. Look, I didn't watch the fight in as a whole. I watched extended highlights that went for 15 or 20 minutes, whatever it was. He was holding. I think the referee did the right thing. Maybe he could have taken an extra point. I don't know, or 2 points, whatever it might have been. It wouldn't have made any difference on the scorecards, but maybe he could have got the DQ. From what I saw, though, I don't think he did enough to actually be disqualified, but maybe another point or two, who knows. But I think it's up to the referee there, Carlo. Yeah, there you go. The crowd then proceeded to beat the crap out of the guy. Drew, okay, can't believe Parker Wardley is pay-per-view. Pay-per-view should be reserved for fights of major domestic or international significance, not for this kind of fight. Slapping pay-per-view on every fight will lose fans. That's just the business, Drew. Mate, Drew, No Limit charges $70 for the crap that was served up in the last show. The guys that they brought in for Nikita and Michael shouldn't have been anywhere near, a ring with guys like that. It was ridiculous. And here they are. They came in and we paid $70 to watch it. Well, I paid it anyway. I know a lot of people didn't. But I think that's just the product these days, Drew. I mean, with streaming services and, the major networks letting boxing go and giving it all to outside sources now, they need to recoup the money. And I think I don't like to break it to you, mate. I think it's going to get worse. You might find that nearly every single show on streaming services soon will be some sort of pay-per-view option. So, I mean, even a lot of the local promoters, I used to do it myself. A lot of the local promoters, the small-time promoters, will have their fights on a streaming platform that you can watch. Might only be $10 or $15 or $20, but you've still got to pay even for those off-Broadway shows. Well, almost off-Broadway shows. But yeah, I think it's going to get worse, not better, Drew. I wouldn't be surprised if the especially with the amount of money that's on offer these days, and they've got to generate to pay for all these events. sanctioning bodies with their hands out, all that sort of stuff. They've got to pay the fighters all this money. And so the big J's of the world are happy. They've got to stack the fight cards, all that sort of stuff. I think it'll get to the point where it'll actually be very, very rare to get a free show on a streaming service. That's just my pretty bleak prediction for the future, mate. So get used to it. I think every fight at some stage will cost you money. All right, Explicit. Speaking of the Zuffa belt, good way to spell it there. Explicit, I like it. Eddie said no fight or care for the belt and said, what's that? Tats like matchroom making a matchroom belt. Oh, that's like a matchroom making a matchroom belt. Oh, it is Explicit. I agree. First of all, the name is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Zuffa. Hey guys, I'm the Zuffa World Boxing Champion. It just is. I'd like to know the actual origins of that name. Obviously, it means something to Dana White, but what is it? It just sounds stupid. But it is. It's like Top Rank having their own belt, Matchroom having their own belt. It means nothing. And as I said before, while the WBA and WBC and IBF and WBO are all out there with the belts, I say, the four sanctioning bodies, along with the IBOs and the WBUs and WBFs and all those different organisations, while they're all out there, Zuffa's not going to just take over the sport. I'm a big fan of Dana White, by the way, but I know who he thinks he is, and Turki Al-Sheikh for that matter as well. I know he's sort of in with the other promoters as well, but especially Dana White, the arrogance of Dana White, and I'm a fan, by the way, but with my boxing fan hat on as well, he's got a hell of a nerve to even think that he can do this. Now, I might be proven wrong. We all might be proven wrong. But I still do not have a clue how he expects to take over boxing and have his one belt or two belt thing with the Ring magazine, how he expects to just take over with those two belts and just shut out those four organisations that have been, some of them have been around 60 or 70 years. How's it just going to happen? And how are the Golden Boys and the Matchrooms and the Queensberries and the Top Ranks are just going to fold over or just fold up and walk away? It's not going to happen. So, yeah, I think he's got a hell of an ego. Remains to be seen. He has got a lot of money and the main power broker behind him. I'll give him that, but I just don't see how it happens. I really don't. By having all the elite fighters under the one umbrella. And surely at some stage, even with the amount of money that Turki Al-Sheikh's throwing around at the moment, surely at some stage there is a limit. Because if they're going to get all those good fighters from all the other promoters and sanctioning bodies to give up their belts and all that sort of stuff, they're going to have to pay them a massive amount of money. There's only so much money to go around, even in Saudi Arabia. So maybe what they'll do is just outlay an unbelievable amount of money and pay way overs for everyone to give up their belts and come to Zuffa. And then when they've got them to long-term contracts, maybe then, and they've got control, maybe the terms change. I don't know, but I just don't see how it works. Explicit, it just doesn't make sense to me. Where are we? All right, Andy. If Janabek Lara happens, maybe Bud might fight Adames just to tick off another division. If not, hopefully we see 160 undisputed. Well, I reckon that's his next play, Andy. I think he'll let Janabek and Lara fight. He might target Adames, and then we fight for the undisputed. Because I think Bud, if he goes or he keeps fighting and wants to win one of those belts at middleweight, he's going to want undisputed. He would become the first 4-time undisputed champ, which is something I struggle to get my head around, that anyone could do 4 undisputed belts in a row, or undisputed divisions in a row. Yeah, I think that's the way it happens, Andy. I think he lets Janabek and Lara fight. And although I reckon if Bud beat Adames and Lara happened to beat Janabek, I'm not sure Lara's a type of opponent that Bud would want to fight. Although by that stage, he's probably going to be 42, 43. So, excuse me, that's Lara. So maybe it won't worry him too much. But it makes sense, Andy. 2 fights and he wins undisputed. Or he might just simply sit back and let the 3 of them duke it out, and then he'll fight the winner. Where are we? All right. Ryan, if there was one belt and you strive to be the champion, no ducking and top 10 fights will be consistent. Perfect. Yep, you're right, Ryan. Zuffa is not the answer, says Glenn, and neither is the Saudis. I will back that as well, Glenn. I 100% agree with you. And my question, as I've said for a long time, what happens when the Saudis, and I don't think Turki Al-Sheikh will get sick of it, but at some stage he might have the brakes put on. Now, that last fight, if by all reports, they lost $50 to $100 million, whatever it was, from that fight. Surely the Saudi royal family, or whoever it is that he answers to, says, hey, what's going on here? What's going on? What's with this? With your little hobby you've got going there? Are we seeing this amount of money being tipped back through the country as far as tourism goes, which is what it's all about? The Riyadh season thing to get tourists and everything over there spending money. Sure, they can't generate that amount of cash. So if they pull the rug out from him or put the brakes on him, whatever, then what happens? So that's why I'm hoping that Eddie and Oscar and Frank, I suppose, all hang in there, because one day I've got a feeling that the Saudi thing might come to an end and they're going to be the last men standing. So Fulton got a tough fight coming up against Foster. Certainly has, mate. That's for sure. Actually, Glenn, just going back to your comment there, as far as not being the answer, I'll just elaborate on that as well. I'm with you, because I think they have an unhealthy hold on the sport at the moment, the Saudis, and everyone's just kissing the ring, eating out of the hands, whatever you might want to call it. And I just don't think it's healthy for the sport. It's actually pretty pathetic to see how some of the power brokers in boxing are reacting to the Saudis. And I think they're going to look pretty silly if the Saudis end up walking away. Anyway, Richard, Lucas Brown made it to the top 50 of Australian Idol 2004. Is that right? Holy shit. So 21 years ago. There you go. Obviously before he was boxing. I'm going to look at that up on YouTube and see if it's on there. Andy, Zuffa belt will likely be for another Dana. Hang on. Zuffa belt will likely be just another Dana White to bubble. Only thing is, it won't be an established pioneering promotion of boxing, but hopefully it just adds to the sport. Yeah, look, I think it'll add to the sport, Andy. It'll create a little bit of competition or more division. Depends on how you look at it. The thing is with the whole thing, as I've said a couple of times as well, when Dana created the UFC, it was from nothing. So all the fighters from these various martial arts backgrounds all came in and they started from under the one umbrella, and the whole thing just grew. So the fighters and everything just grew with the organization. So it's different. Boxing is an established sport with 4 major bodies already in place, not to mention the 3 or 4 or 5, whatever it is, minor belts out there at the moment as well. This is my point. How do you just walk into that and brush them aside and expect just to have your stupid Zuffa belt or whatever the hell it's called, and just expect everyone to forget about those 4 major organizations who make a lot of money out of boxing? They all the people involved make a hell of a living out of it. They're all these like fat pigs with all the money they make and all the trips they get and all the other stuff they get, all the other perks. I reckon they're just going to give that up just because Dana White's got this stupid Zuffa belt thing happening? No way. Do you really think real go-getters like Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn are just going to roll over for Dana White to take the sport from them? No way in hell. So that's why I don't think it works. And how can, as fans, how can we take a belt called the Zuffa belt seriously? I mean, really? They've got to change the name, or else I'm just out in protest right for the word go. I'm not going to give it a go while it's still called the Zuffa belt. Anyway. All right, Batman has entered the chat. He thinks Norman beats Haney. Good fight, though. Yeah, it will be. Batman should be. And I don't really care who wins. I just sort of think Haney will win. But anyway. Glenn says, Fulton doesn't overly impress me. Yeah, I'm with you there, Glenn. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think he's one of the elites out there, but still a really good fighter. Yes. Glenn says, we agree on something, Batman. All right, Drew. I like Haney over Norman. Far too much experience at this point versus high-level opponents. People seem to sweep the Garcia failed drug test under the carpet too easily. Yeah, well, doesn't even get mentioned anymore, Drew, does it? Batman, the terrified of giant seems nobody wants that. Yeah. If you seen my video this morning, you would have seen about Chris Billum-Smith. And he was supposed to, his purse bids went out for Roman Frez, the German fighter. And it was a $300,000 minimum, and no one even bothered to bid. So that's how well Chris Billum-Smith's going. So why wouldn't you step up and say, hey, I'll take the $1 million to fight Jai for the belt? Won't even step up for that, Batman. He's probably going to earn a couple of $100,000 by fighting some guy from Germany. Doesn't make sense to me, but All right, Glenn. Drew, Ryan Garcia nearly killed him, and Norman is bigger and more talented. I think it will be ugly for Haney. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Batman says Zerdo, as good as he looked at Cruiser, knows what Jai will do to him. Has he looked that good though, Batman? I haven't been impressed by Zerdo at all at Cruiserweight. I mean, he's obviously talented. He's got 2 belts and all the rest of it. I think he's been okay, but I haven't seen anything that makes me think he's gonna beat Jai Bhatia. I just haven't seen it. So look, he's experienced. He's been around, had a lot of big fights, but I just think Jai being a lot bigger man, quicker. I think he punches harder. I just think it'll be way too much for Zerdo. His work rate's far too high as well. I think Jai for Zerdo. But I just hope he gets the opportunity to fight him and prove it, Batman. Andy, never been a fan of elevation. The sanctioning body is just making the fighter look bad by not forcing him to fight for it. Yep, I'm with you there, Andy. Norman can punch and put serious beatings on his opponents. I don't think Haney will be different, although he has more experience, but not at 147. Norman, the biggest puncher Haney has faced by a lot. Yeah, that's a good point, Batman. Yep, no, it's just your opinion, but it's a good one, mate. No dramas with that. Glenn can't believe it. He can't believe we agree again. Canelo still sucks, though. Yep. Yeah, well, the ball's in your court at the moment, Glenn, because he didn't do a lot in his last fight against Crawford, did he? Okay, I can see him knocking Haney out. Okay, maybe. Polly changing the subject. Who wins out at Takuma, Inoue, and Tenshin Nasukawa? I'm thinking Tenshin, but it could be a banger. That's a good fight, isn't it? I'm with you there, Polly. I think Tenshin Nasukawa wins that fight. Should be a great fight, though. Batman says, Polly, I love that fight. This is Nasukawa and Inoue. 2 very technical fighters, will be a showcase of skills. May the best man win. Yeah, it should be a ripper, Batman. All right, Drew, I have massive questions about how Dana will navigate his way through boxing. He's so used to wanting to pay his fighters in MMA peanuts while sweeping the bank. Boxers will question conditions. And that's the thing, Drew. I mean, all Oscar and Eddie have really got to do, if any of their fighters are maybe raising the subject about, well, maybe the contracts are up and looking over the fence to Dana White, all they've got to do is put the track records out. This is what he pays the UFC fighters. This is how he operates his business. It's all about how much money the promotion can make, not how much money they can make together. This is the thing with Eddie and Oscar. You don't really see many fighters leave them. So, which means while they're making lots of money, their fighters are making lots of money as well. How many UFC fighters have come out and absolutely bagged the hell out of Dana White for how badly he pays his fighters? So I'm with you there, Drew. I have massive questions as well. And I'm not sure whether Dana White just thinks that, well, I'm Dana White. Look what I've done to the UFC. How hard can it be? Boxing is in such a mess. I'm just going to walk in. Well, that's the problem. Boxing is in such a mess that you just can't take it over. And it's not a structured business. It's all over the place. It's a dog's breakfast. It always has been. Probably always will be. Probably gets worse. And it will get worse with him in it, by the way. Talk about just a mess. This is going to make it even more complicated and divided. So I just think he's looking at it going, oh, well, it's a mess. So I'm just going to go in there and sort it all out with my UFC concept. But the fact that it is such a mess, it just can't work. 4 major sanctioning bodies. I'll say it again. All the understudy, or whatever you want to call them, the second or third shelf down titles that are out there at the moment. How do you just sweep them away and just make your belt and the ring belt the belts to fight for? I can't believe either the arrogance or the ignorance of Dana White in not understanding boxing. Alongside with Turki Al-Sheikh, who's just saying, well, I got all the money, just do it. Turki Al-Sheikh doesn't know anything about boxing. Well, maybe he knows a little bit more than what he did 2 or 3 years ago. But overall, he's just a guy with money. He's a rich guy with money. That's all he is. And he's living out his fantasies by buying the likes of Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya and Dana White. He's just one of those guys who's just a fanboy with almost limitless pockets as far as money goes, and he's just living his fantasies. I don't think he really knows about the boxing business and probably doesn't even want to know. He's just like, hey, I want him to fight him. How much is it going to cost? There it is. Okay, pay him 20% overs or what the fight's worth just to make it happen because I can afford it. That's the way I see him. So with an inexperienced boxing guy like Dana and an inexperienced boxing businessman in Turkey Al Sheikh together, it's almost like the blind leading the blind, if you ask me. That's why I'm really hoping that once the dust settles on all what's going on at the moment, it's not going to last forever. Let's remember, at some stage, the Saudis will step away. Turkey Al Sheikh won't be around forever. When the dust settles, it's the Oscar De La Hoyas and Eddie Hearns and Frank Warren. I know his son will probably be running it by then, and someone else will be running Top Rank. They're the ones that will still be around. So that's why I'm still giving my support and belief into those companies, because at some stage the Saudis are out of here. So, but in this instance here, as I said, is it the blind leading the blind with Dana and Turkey Al Sheikh? Because that's what it looks like to me. Dana needs to be more specific about changing the ring. I want to know what he means by that. Maybe just adding more lights. Well, I didn't actually hear about that explicit. Well, how's that any different to some of the other shit going on out there with this diamond in the middle of this brawling ring now? And is he going to do things like that? Fans won't have it. Boxing, this is one thing that he probably shows his ignorance as far as boxing fans goes. Yes, there are the segment of the market that likes the bare knuckle and they like this new brawling concept and they like the slapping, all that bullshit that's out there. But the real hardcore boxing fans do not want the sport changed at all. So if he comes in there with something about changing the ring or size or whatever it's made out of, whatever, not going to go well. The hardcore boxing fans will not cop it. They just won't. We've got to make a stand, all us rusted on boxing fans. William, now that Tim and Akita aren't trained by the same trainer, it would be great to see them on the same no limit card. Yeah, good point, William. It's not a bad. I don't think it'll happen though. I think it's not just the trainers, William. I think the fact that the stress levels involved with the family and all that sort of stuff doesn't go well when you've got two of them on the same card. So I doubt that'll happen. All right, I gave him $1. Did a bit of boxing at a gym as a kid, not too full on, but I spent a good 18 months in that gym. But what does the weight cut look like for pros? Just a ballpark. Well, the pros, some of them will lose up to sort of 20 to 25 pounds, mate. That's probably been a bit conservative. Yep, it's not good. Yep, a lot of them do it differently, but that's what a lot of them will lose. It's not healthy, but I suppose they know their body's better than other people, and they'll do what they've got to do. But that's what some of them get up to, mate. Maybe 10. So what's that? Might be 25 pounds, maybe even more. Some of them. So not good. Interesting to see who Tim fights next. Yeah, I'm waiting for that one too. There, William. Parker Wardley's on main event for $50. Okay. Yep. At 5 a.m. Yeah. No thanks. I think I'll just watch it on YouTube afterwards. Do you think Parker knocks Fabio out? Could. I'm not whether knocks him out. He could drunken boxing. I think he definitely wins. I can't see Fabio winning it. I really can't. I can't see Parker walking into a big punch. So, yeah, he could. My gut feel just says Parker with a nice, comfortable decision, though, drunken boxing. Drew, if you could choose a fight movie to be made of either Sonny Liston or Sugar Ray Robinson, which would you prefer? Sugar Ray Robinson for me, Drew, if I had to pick one or the other. Sonny Liston's life would be very, very interesting with his ties to the mob and all that sort of stuff, but Sugar Ray Robinson, of course, the greatest fighter of all time, deserves his own movie. Yep. Zulfa is a stupid name, yep. Yep. MMA fan that can't stand Dana. Look, I'm actually a fan of his drunken boxing. I don't mind him. I like his style, but I just don't get how he's, again, I'll say it again, I just don't get how he thinks he's just going to come and take over boxing. It just staggers me. Andy, unifying the existing belts to achieve undisputed right now is hard enough as it is. Creating extra belts might just dilute their competence even more. I'm with you, Andy. Well, all of a sudden, we don't have undisputed champions anymore, do we? And my question I've got is, and again, I've said this on one of the Walking Boxing episodes, who is Dana White just to say, well, our belt is suddenly a major belt? I think, isn't that up to the fans and the fighters? The fighters will speak as far as wanting to fight for those said belts, but then the fans have got to also accept it, because the IBO has a belt, been around for a while, fans don't accept it. The WBU has a belt, fans don't accept it. So it doesn't matter what they're doing with the belts, the fans have got, and the fighters have got to welcome the belts. And even when fighters like Triple G and Roy Jones Jr. had IBO belts, no one recognised them. So you just can't walk in and say, well, our belt is now going to be the preeminent belt, and okay, well, we include the ring with that, but our belt is going to be number one. Again, I don't know whether he's arrogant or ignorant. He's Dana White. I still like his style, though. Ryan, change is as good as a holiday. Let's go Dana. Great for combat sports, at least for his fans. Yeah, again, Ryan, I really like Dana. I like his swagger and the way he goes about it. But again, how is he going to pull it off? I just don't see it. Anyway. Hang on. Where are we? All right. Without knowing the innermost financial details of boxing and its authorities, surely there's enough money in the system to reimburse lower tier fighters who have had their fights cancelled. In theory, Drew, but unfortunately, they don't, mate. Fights get cancelled. The promoters say, well, it's beyond our control, and there's nothing in place. The only other thing they could maybe do is maybe write it in the contracts, but then the promoters probably have the option to say, well, if you want that in your contracts, you're not fighting on my card. So it's a tough one, Drew, and I don't know the exact solution, but something that surely has to be done. I mean, it's happened for eternity, I know that, but fight camp, I mean, I did hear that Tim's last camp for Fundora could have been between sort of 50 and 100 grand. A lot of money to put up. A lot of money. He obviously fought for at the MGM and earned good money. But what I'm saying is, what happens if that fighter had fallen over? All of a sudden, he's between 50 and 100 grand out of pocket. So, also with the belts, the IBA, yes, the IBA, yep. I think still plan to have 5 belts in the mix, and allegedly it will be all gold. Yeah, I don't know, explicit. I did see the IBA. Yep, looking to do their own one. Yep. Don King wasn't necessarily good for the sport, but he got fights done. Both Dana and Don had Trump in the corner. Yep. Yeah, well, it's good to have the president of the United States in your corner. But you've got to remember, too, Trump was actually a very, very big player in boxing in the late 80s, early 90s. He bought all the big heavyweight fights to Atlantic City when he had the casinos there. Tyson Spinks, Holyfield and Foreman was there. Numerous Tyson fights were there as well. Big fights that he brought to Atlantic City, and that's just some of the big ones. There were lots of other fights as well. He was a big player in boxing at one stage, was Donald Trump. You could almost say he was the guy before Turkey Al Sheikh came in, splashing all the money around. He just made it happen. He got those big fights to Atlantic City by paying way overs for them. Got his casinos to sponsor all those big events. He doesn't get enough, I know, without getting political and the whole thing, Donald Trump doesn't get enough credit for what he did for boxing back then. He made a lot of big fights happen, including Tyson Spinks, which was the biggest heavyweight fight since Holmes Cooney in, 82. So, and Dana didn't create UFC, but he sure built it up from what it was. Yeah, good point. I should have mentioned that, yep. Eliminating the competition in Pride FC in the early days gave UFC a monopoly that Dana would not have in boxing. That's my point, Andy. Yeah, I should have said he didn't create it, but he took it and ran with it and made it the behemoth that it is now. So I give him full credit for that. But it was a sport that was nothing. It didn't have other sanctioning bodies involved that were not going anywhere. He took a sport that was pretty much, well, I won't say it was on its knees because it was just in its formation, but he got all those combat sports and put them all together and had this unbelievable concept and went with it, and it was a massive success. Boxing, as bad of a shape it can be in some times, it's an established mess, and that's why I just don't see how we can fix it. So, Fredo, Triple G should not be first ballot Hall of Fame. Okay, his first 11 middleweight title defenses weren't recognised as it was a regular belt. His best win is probably a close one with Jacobs. Nothing says first ballot. No, I think you're being a bit hard there, Fredo. I get it. I understand it. But I think for his body of work, Fredo, I think for me, he's first ballot Hall of Fame. Just my opinion, but you can have yours as well. Here's an odd one. Says Jay Jackson, John England, ranked 5 with the IBF above Liam Wilson. Whose nudes at the IBF does Tony Tolch have to get his boy that high? Hey, well, Tony's the man, Jay. He is the man. It's a good point, though. Where is he? At 130, is it? Where is it? Give me a look. I didn't realise he was in the rankings. He is too. Technically number 3 there, Jay, because number 1 and 2 aren't ranked. There you go. When's the last time he fought? Let's have a look. I thought he'd almost retired, Jackson John England. He hasn't fought for a while. He did have that really good win over, what's his name, the American, didn't he? Where is he? Jackson John England. 19-3. Last fought in April with a win over Jai Lane Taylor. Jamal Herring was the win. That was a year and a half ago. Okay. Over Liam Wilson. Yeah, there you go, eh? I didn't know that, Jay, but Tony gets the job done. That's all I'll say, Jay. He's a very, very good manager. Andy Dana is a businessman, though, and he's now here to try and compete, but boxing is a bit of an open market. We'll see. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Andy. We'll give him a shot at it and see how he does. Richard says Dana has his methods like putting bonuses for fight of the night, best KO and best submission, so he gets entertaining fights and pays them below par. It's an incentive for the fighters. But it's not going to cut it, though, Richard, not in boxing. You know, I mean, if you have a fighter that might get $2 million fighting for any other promoter, but Dana says, well, I'll give you, $750,000, but there's a $100,000 incentive for best knockout of the night, so it's just not going to cut it. The fighters will go, you're kidding, aren't you? At a minimum, he's got to pay them what the other promoters are paying him. At a minimum. And if anything, he's got to pay them overs because he's got to pry them out of where they already are. If you've got say a Virgil Ortiz that's with Oscar De La Hoya at the moment, who Oscar's doing great things with him. You've got Boots Ennis with Eddie Hearn. There's another one. So you got both of those fighters, and Dana White comes sniffing around and says, come with us, guys. We'll do this and do that. He's got to really pay them overs to pry them out of those respective promoters to get them over. So for a guy that's renowned for underpaying, all of a sudden he's got to overpay. Now, I know he's got the unlimited checkbook going with him, but he still wants to make money and lots of it. So the tactics and methods that he uses in UFC, I know it makes them a lot of money. It's just not going to cut it in boxing. It's as simple as that. Julian says Dana White is a big fan of Donald Trump and vice versa. We'll just have to stay tuned. US boxing fans stick together, or us boxing fans stick together no matter. And we will, Julian, we will. No, 100% we will. But, and you're right, Dana White and Donald Trump are very big fans of each other. I'm not sure what Donald Trump would do for Dana White. I mean, I don't think Donald Trump's going to intervene to make life easier for Dana, but we'll see. But yeah, you're right. We all stick together. But what I was trying to say is that we don't like to be hoodwinked and have someone come in and try and change our sport. It hasn't been changed for a long, long time. It's never really been changed. The biggest change has been 15 rounds to 12 rounds, and that was a safety thing that I think we all embraced. But if all of a sudden you're introducing different concepts with the ring and rules and all this sort of stuff, I just don't think it'll fly. And us boxing fans will stick together. It'll just be with those traditional promoters and sanctioning bodies. That's the way I think we'll go. So anyway, we'll see. OG, I've said before they should have fight cards based on division, get the ball rolling, a whole card of 154 one night and then another division a different night. Not a bad call there either, OG. It might be a really good way to salvage these fight nights where, let's say this one with Fundora and Thurman, you have 3 or 4 154-pound fights on the undercard, and you've got the whole thing covered. You might squeeze another couple of weights or other weight divisions in there, but the main 4 or 5 fights are 154. So it's just a matter of sifting them around. If you've got to pull one, you pull one. They get a commission for not fighting, and everyone's happy. Everyone moves on. Maybe they get paid a purse, but they just don't fight, and they get on the next card or whatever. Good call there, OG. I'd love to know the actual weight cut plan. I'm assuming almost no food and no water. There's a lot of different ways, mate. There's this water loading thing a lot of them do. The smart ones actually stay in the gym, keep the weight within an acceptable level, and then they can just get it down naturally. So the last thing they do is just, cut. What they do is the sauna or whatever it might be where it's all fluid. They cut out water in it for a day and just deplenish themselves of water in the sauna, and they take off 3 or 4 kilos doing that. That's probably the smart way, because then you can replenish it straight away. The dumb ones, of course, wait till the last minute and do it all, the week of the weigh-in or whatever it might be. But everyone has their own concepts and procedures there. I gave him $1. That's every fighter's different. Everyone's got different bodies and the way they go about it. But all right, Ryan, I watch a UFC event every second weekend, free. Number 4 ranked versus number 6 ranked. I'm not paying $50 to watch 2 up and comers. Yeah, let's go. Love you, but pushing the buttons is cold. I'm with you. But look, with the pay-per-view thing, I just think it's going to happen. The UFC again is different because they've got this pass thing. We don't have that in boxing. And it's the Wild West at the moment as far as what you're allowed to do. And boxing fans have a history of just paying whatever people want. I know there's illegal streams and all that at the moment, but yeah, I just think it's going to get worse, Ryan. I just think you're going to have to pretty much pay for all boxing events going forward. And that UFC thing, you pay subscription, don't you? And I know they do have a free one on, is it Foxtel? I think they do. I'm not sure how it all works, Ryan. I can't comment on something I don't know anything about. All I do know is with boxing and the way it works with the streaming, got to be money coming in from somewhere. And we've seen it with DAZN. They promised no fees at the start. But Turkey Al Sheikh promised no fees at the start, and it all just went pear-shaped, and now we pay pay-per-views as well. So, as I said before, mate, I just think it's going to get worse. I really do. Jesus, charging us $80 American for Pitbull and Roach. Well, I think you just vote with your feet there, Bobby. You just say, I'm not going to pay it. I'm not going to pay it. Sorry, I missed you there, Batman. Any potential opponents for Tim? I know nothing, Batman. Bob, when you're promoted, you manage to turn a profit for most of your shows. Barely, Bob. Lost money on some shows, made some on others, broke even on others. Didn't make enough to do it full time, Bob. It's a tough gig. I started to do okay when I hooked up with Dean Lonigan. We did the National Boxing Series, the MBS. It all fell over when COVID happened. I think we did 6 or 7 MBS events. Mick Francis with Tasman Fighters was the Queensland guy. I was the Victorian guy. I think he had someone in Canberra as well. In those days, Bob, we used to get, I think it was $130,000 given to us by Foxtel to put the shows on. So all of a sudden, we're cracking. All right, we put on a really good show for 120. Then of course you've got, let me turf my computer there. Then we've got obviously the gate and everything coming in. So it was an opportunity to make some good money out of it. But when you're just doing it by yourself, mate, it's bloody hard. It is exceptionally hard. It really is. With no streaming service behind you, you're relying, and let's face it, in Australia at the moment, pretty much 90% of the time you're relying on family and friends as the majority of the crowd. You don't see the fight fans who just go to the boxing for a good night out. You might get a few, but the proportionate is the numbers are very disproportionate. So say if you get 1,000 people at a small boxing event, the odds are about 900 of them, or 850, whatever it might be, it's just family and friends there to support. And only about another 100, 150 there because they want to go see a good night of fights. That's why it's hard, Bob. That really is. So, and that's why the promoters are all about the fighters saying, well, you're on the card, but you've got to sell. If you don't sell, you're off the cards. Not by choice, it's because they have to. Not often did we make a good profit, Bob. And that's why when COVID came around, I probably made the decision not to go back, because I've got another business that does put food on the table. That's where I channeled all my energy, mate. And my boxing needs are filled by shows like this. All right, a couple more comments and we'll call it a night. Where are we? And what's that there? The only bonus Dana White should give is if someone has the balls to wear his mother-in-law's Zuffa belt. Yep, I like that. What's that, Drew? My favourite Don King moment was when Joe Fraser got demolished by Foreman. Don said, I came here with the champ and I left with the champ. Pure scumbag gold. Yes, yeah, that's why he's still around there, mate. Yeah, Dana, Mr. 80% of revenue. Jesus, crazy, isn't it? All right, fighters are the stars that put it on the line for our entertainment, so always deserve to be paid as such. I'm with you, mate, but not always the way. Promoters have got to make money as well. And you've got to remember, I'll go in defense of promoters just a little bit here too, by the way, that they put the pretty much literally the balls on the chopping block every single show. They're the ones that got to organise the event. They've got to deal with the broadcasters and the fight, all these different fight teams and promoters and managers and trainers and you name it. They put up with a lot and literally put it all on the line every single time. And I can, that's what I'm saying, I can defend them that way. But when you're one of those promoters that make a shitload of money every single card, then of course the fighters deserve to be paid their worth. Might be a stupid question, but how much influence did Turkey have in Dana coming into boxing? I think a lot. I reckon Turkey Al Sheikh has approached Dana White about coming into boxing. I would think they've had a bit of a UFC relationship. I think he's asked Dana White to come into boxing. That's my thought. Because I mean, why would Dana White really need to come into boxing? He's multi-millionaire. He's probably even a billionaire probably by now, and has got a multi-billion-dollar company. Why would he need to come into boxing with all this shit going on in with it at the moment? I reckon he's getting some good backing, let's say, from Turki Al-Sheikh. What's that? I think I deserve a shout out in tomorrow's Walking Boxing for stirring up the Dana White Hornets nest. Love your passion. Great show. Thanks, Ryan. I might do that. I'll go back through the comments there, and if there's nothing else going on, mate, I'll give it a mention for sure. Not to be fair, UFC did a great job, but I don't really want his peanut paydays in boxing. I'm with you, Batman. Again, I'll say it. I'm a big fan of Dana White as a businessman. I just don't see how it translates into boxing. Turkey has contributed heaps to putting on some of the biggest fights one could ever make, but boxing existed before Turkey came along and will continue when he's gone. Boxing has its own sustainability. Yeah, I'm with you, Andy. Look, he has put on some big fights, but I just don't like that now it's come down to one person who's just pretty much controlling everything. Now, I know in theory it probably sounds good. I just don't think it's healthy just to have one person running everything. That's just my call anyway. And I reckon, guys, that is going to do it. We are at 9:01, 1 minute past the hour. Don't forget to subscribe, share, smash the like button, all that sort of stuff, guys. Thanks again to everyone that's tuned in. It's been another 2 hours that's gone past way too quick. Make sure you check out Walking Boxing every morning, usually up at sort of 10:30 in the morning, give or take. So check that out. It's on Spotify and YouTube. And we'll keep an eye on some other stuff that we might be doing pretty soon as well. So, guys, have a great week, and we'll catch you next Monday night on Talking Boxing.